If you're running payroll in-house, you'll invariably encounter circumstances where you'll need to reverse a payroll check. Most commonly, this occurs when an employee has lost their check or when you've written one for the wrong amount. So in this tutorial, we'll walk you through the process of reversing a payroll check in Sage Mass 90 and Mass 200. Let's begin by reviewing the employee record and the check that we'll be reversing in our example. To do this, we'll go to the menu tree and select Payroll, Main, Employee Maintenance. Using the lookup, we'll select Alan Jenkins as our example employee. Moving to the Checks tab, here we can see a list of the checks that have been written to Alan this year. For our example, we'll be reversing check number 4044. Now let's close the window and move on to the next step. To reverse a payroll check, you need to have the original check information available, and you have several options. One is to locate the payroll data entry audit report that was generated when the original check was processed. This can be obtained through Paperless Office if you've set it up for journals and registers or from hard copy paper files. Another option is to run the Perpetual History Report if you're retaining perpetual payroll history. For our example, we'll obtain the necessary information for reversing the check from the Payroll Data Entry Audit Report. We retrieve this report, shown here, from our Paperless Office. Let's minimize the report and move on to processing the reversal. To do this, we'll return to the menu tree and under Payroll, Main, select Payroll Data Entry. We'll begin with the pay cycle field and select Weekly, which is the original pay cycle for the check we're reversing. For period ending date, we'll enter the date used on the original check, which was 05/31/2010. Note that if the original check date is in a prior quarter, you'll need to enter a date in the current quarter so that taxes will be adjusted properly for your quarterly reports. Now continuing on, for days worked, we'll enter -5, and for weeks worked, we'll enter -1. This will reverse the day and week totals for the employee since we're reversing the original check. Moving to manual taxes, we'll enable this so that we can reverse the exact taxes deducted on the original check. This is helpful if the employee has reached taxable limits or made changes to their tax status after the original check was written. Continuing on, we'll disable auto deductions, auto earnings, and print checks since we'll need to manually enter deductions and won't be printing a negative check. The entries we've made here will be the defaults for all checks entered during this session only. They can also be made individually on the check entry screen, but if you're reversing more than one check, entering it once here is quicker. Now continuing on, we'll click OK. Using the lookup, let's select our example employee, Alan Jenkins, and we'll hit Enter at the entry number field. Note that all of the settings here have defaulted to the entries that we made on the previous screen. Since we're not printing a check, we'll need to enter the check information. So for bank code, we'll enter B, which was the original bank code used when the check was written. For check number, we'll enter the original check number 004044 and hit Enter. For check date, we'll enter the original check date 05/31/2010, and for check amount, we'll enter the original check amount of $330.74 as a negative number. And now we'll hit Enter to move to the Lines tab. It's important to note that earnings and deductions must be entered as negative amounts using the same codes as the original check. Further, if your company bases benefits by hours, then you must enter the hours as a negative number in order to reverse the accrual when reversing a check. The standard default information for Alan is correct, but we need to change the number of hours to -40, and now we'll hit Enter, then click OK. And now you can see that this entry has been added below. Now we'll reverse the deductions originally recorded for this check. We'll start by setting Type to Deduction, and using the lookup, we'll select our first deduction, health insurance, and enter -60 as on our original check, then hit enter and enter again, which adds the entry below. Moving to the next deduction, we'll select credit union and enter -50 as on our original check, and we'll hit enter twice to move through the fields and again to add it below. And for our final deduction, we'll select 401k plan, which defaulted in for a -2770, which matches the original check. Now we'll use the enter key to move through the fields and again to add the entry below. Then we'll click accept. The manual payroll tax entry window opens, and using information from the original data entry audit report, we'll enter the manual taxes using negative numbers. We'll enter -1917 to reverse federal withholding, -3263 to reverse FICA, -763 to reverse Medicare, and -2613 to reverse state withholding. And now we'll hit enter to accept our entries and close the screen. Note that the check amount entered must equal the total earnings minus voluntary deductions and taxes. If the amount in the net amount field does not agree with the amount entered in the check amount field on the header tab, an out of balance message will appear. Moving on, we'll hit the print icon, which brings us to the tax calculation, and click proceed to continue, and yes to print the data entry audit report, and then print. Since we have paperless journals and registers set up, the report generates a PDF that displays for review. You should compare this report with your original report to confirm that each negative entry matches the original and the totals are correct. Now let's close the report. At this point, you can print any of the registers normally printed during a payroll run, but we'll skip this in our demonstration. Since there are no checks to print, we'll go to the menu tree and select Check Register/Update. We'll change the posting date to 05/31/2010, which is the same date as our original reversal and the original check, and then hit Enter to print. Again, since we have paperless office journals and registers activated, the check register appears as a PDF document. Here you should verify the check register for accuracy, and now we'll close the window and click Yes to update the register, and Yes to print the daily transaction register, and then print. And after briefly reviewing the register, we'll close the window and click Yes to update. Now that we've completed the reversal, let's review the employee by going back to our menu tree and select Employee Maintenance. Using the lookup, we'll select Alan Jenkins and open the Checks tab to view the check history. As you can see, the reversing check has been recorded. We're now ready to reissue the payroll check using the normal procedure. And that completes our tutorial on reversing a payroll check. Give us a call if you need assistance with this or any other feature in your Sage Mass 90 or Mass 200 system. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Bye for now.